Julia here. Writing is a lot of fun. That's why a lot of us are writers. That's why I'm a writer. I enjoy writing. I think it's pretty fun. Most of the time. Sometimes it's awful. When you've been editing the same scene for a month and it's not clicking and you just can't get it right, writing is not fun anymore. It becomes work, it becomes laborious, and it's so easy to just close the tab and pull up Netflix, or close the tab and go to sleep. But in order to get that book or books on the shelf, you gotta put in some hard work and you gotta put in some elbow grease. So today I'm gonna be giving my top 5 tips on how to write when you just don't want to anymore. Tip number 1 is to set mini goals for yourself. So some people think of the big goal in mind and they say, all right, I'll rest when the book is written. And that's just not realistic. I mean, absolutely, when the book is done and it has been released and the book is finished, if you finish your first draft, absolutely, take yourself out for some ice cream and binge some Netflix for a little bit. But some people's minds don't work that way, and sometimes that goal can seem so far away that it can seem totally daunting and frankly impossible to get there. But there are little steps along the way that you're absolutely advancing towards your goal, and they're a lot easier to progress towards rather than that big goal. So for me personally, if I feel myself writing and I'm just like, this ain't working, I'll basically lie to myself and I'll say, okay, you can stop when one more page is written. And after that page is written, I'll be like, okay, that wasn't too bad. One more paragraph. And when the paragraph's done, I'll be like, that wasn't too bad. One more sentence. And the next thing you know, you've talked yourself into writing like 10 more pages. And you're like, that wasn't too bad. Just take it a step at a time. It makes it a little easier. And if lying to yourself doesn't work, because sometimes I outsmart myself and I'm like, yeah, no, this ain't working. You can also set a physical goal for yourself and say, okay, when I reach 20,000 words as my total manuscript, or say you've been editing for 15 minutes. Say, okay, I'm gonna edit for another 15 minutes, and once I hit that 30-minute mark, I'm gonna get myself some ice cream and keep eating ice cream while I'm working. So setting little goals for yourself with rewards is another great way to keep yourself motivated and keep yourself going. Tip number 2 is to change position/location. I saw this video the other day, and I really hope this analogy works, but it was this baby that was crying, and they're like, the doctor that can cure any baby that's crying. And basically what the doctor did was they were holding the baby and he was crying like this. They turned the baby over so he's facing on his stomach, and they put a hand like right on his chest and then one on like his stomach, and they rocked him in a circle like this, and the baby stopped crying immediately. And the doctor explained that the change of perspective and the change of motion was so interesting and so distracting that the baby stopped crying because he wasn't focused on what was upsetting him anymore. He was focused on, whoa, like this is a new thing I'm not used to. And I think we can still compare ourselves to that crying baby too. So when you're getting frustrated and you're getting tired and you want to do it anymore, try changing locations. So if you're sitting inside, try going outside. If it's raining or snowing or bad weather, tornado, I don't know, try going to another room in your house. For me, sometimes I'm usually upright sitting and typing like this. Sometimes if I go to the floor and I sit on my stomach, prop my head up with a pillow and type like that, just that change of position can at least distract myself from the pain I'm feeling in my head, because I have a headache because I've been editing for 6 hours straight and it's fine. So sometimes that change of position and that change of scenery can be enough to distract yourself from the uncomfortable situation that you're in, that you can push forward and keep writing. Another thing that you can do is try switching playlists. If you've been listening to the same playlist for the same period of time over and over again, try switching to something to a little more upbeat. I usually start with soft soundtracks, but especially when I'm getting towards the later editing stages, I need something a little more engaging, so I switch over to a poppy rock playlist or something like that. Tip number 3 is to literally do some exercise and then keep going. Sometimes just standing up and doing 10 jumping jacks is all you need to get that blood flowing through your head. Now, it might take a lot of effort to stand up and do those 10 jumping jacks, but I promise it will really help you. I recommend, if you've been writing for a long period of time and you can afford to take a bit of a break, try going on a little jog around your neighborhood, or even just taking a walk outside, just walk around your house a couple of times. Anything to get your blood moving and to get you out of that stationary position that you've been in for that period of time. Tip number 4 is to go back to your sources of inspiration. So if you can afford to take a little bit of a break, try going back to the things that inspired you to write in the first place. I have a few bookmarked places in a lot of my favorite books that I just read and I just, oh my gosh, fall in love with words all over again. I keep a collection, I've posted about it a couple times on my Instagram, but I keep a little notebook where I keep all of my quote-unquote gems of writing and reading that I've come across over the ages. Actually, let me see if I can find it. Hold on. Wahaha! I found it. Okay, so this is one of my favorites. So I read An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, which the whole book itself is just absolutely beautiful, but there was this one line that really stuck out to me. Human emotion is beyond comprehension, smooth and uninterrupted like an orb of blown glass. Ah, just so cool. I'll read one more. So sometimes it's not just like a beautifully written line, sometimes it's a line that's just really engaging or really funny. This is from The Dark Net by Benjamin Percy. This might be the 3rd time Juniper has come back from the dead, but he's hardly used to it. Just like so random, like, and that was the beginning of a chapter, and I was just like, what is this? I love this. I don't know what I'm reading, but I love it a lot. So going back to little quotes that keep you going and little reminders of why you really truly love writing and words in general can really be enough to push you forward to that next step. So if you don't have a journal where you keep your gems of reading that you've come across over periods of time, I highly recommend doing so, because I love looking back and I'm like, oh yeah, that was such a good sentence. Or, oh my gosh, I loved that description. Like, it just reminds you why you love writing. Tip number 5 is not for everyone, but I feel like I should include it anyway. I'm a big proponent of taking a break. Now, if you're working on a deadline or your brain just doesn't work that way, and if you start taking a break, you'll never stop, taking a break is not for you. But for me personally, I can tell when my brain has had enough, when it's just shutting down and it's like, nope, we're not doing any more work today. And that's totally okay, but you know your brain the best, so you have to realize when you've hit that mental brain block, or when you're tired and exhausted, but you can write a little more. That's really up to you and up to understanding your body and where you are mentally. But taking a break doesn't have to mean you can't be productive. There's a lot of things that you can do that aren't just writing. You can do research for a scene that's coming up. You can go back and do a little bit of editing. You can watch YouTube videos on the writing and editing process to give yourself some ideas. If you need to design business cards or bookmarks, or you've been putting off cleaning out your writing drawer, these are all things you can do instead of writing that are still working towards the end goal of releasing that book. It's just not the actual writing and editing process. So I hope these tips helped you out. Are you in the middle of writer's block right now? I am very sorry to hear that if you are, but if you are, leave a comment down below and I'll throw you some support and some love. I've totally been there. I'm not really deep in the writing process right now, but I mean, for The Scavenger and Missing Her, there were absolutely moments where I was just like, this is too much work. I can't do it anymore. But I did, and that is why I'm able to sit here today with 2 lovely books on my shelf. It's really all worth it in the end. It is a lot of work, but there's a reason we keep coming back to it. Thank you for stopping by. Bye.